Hey y'all, welcome back. You know, a lot of you out there maybe don't realize just how much time and effort the Rockstar Ryan team really put into making Red Dead 2 feel like a real sequel to the original masterpiece that was Red Dead Redemption. Even in just the intro, the amount of references, hidden away, story nods, the parallels, simply put, the added context that 2 brings to 1's intro is incredible. So, without further ado, let's just break it all down. It starts already with a big shot of the Blackwater Ferry, and wouldn't you know it, if you played 2, even in 1 it's referenced, but 2, I mean, the whole thing kicks off with you escaping from the Blackwater boat robbery. The big one. Alright, you stole like $150,000 in 1899 money. You pissed off the government. Everything, the whole downfall of the gang is tied with that crazy heist, the murdering of Heidi McCourt, and all of that can be thought of and remembered the second you turn on Red Dead Redemption 1, because you start off on the ferry. I mean, that's already genius on the writing team. And then right after that, but you see John walking off the boat with piece of shit Edgar Ross with him, and the other one, Archibald something, Archie. He's okay. He grows to like you over the course of the game. Ross does not, obviously. But I mean, throughout Red Dead 2, you see the underling under Agent Milton, Edgar Ross. You can see the monster he turns into in 1, and already you can see that this is his show. He even tries to shove John. John rips his fucking hand off his shoulder. And you could see already that they're not friends if this is their first time playing. But if you play 2, you know they're not friends. And you know Ross is just vengeful, just angry about everything that happened. And all of that can be discerned just by and this is only a few seconds in, and all of that is just from you playing 2 and jumping into 1. Like that's the added context I'm talking about. See what I mean? See how big this is gonna get? After that hour-long video I just did, you know, I thought I'd make an easy attempt at something like simple and quick, but it's not gonna be quick. It's gonna be actually Part 2, the train. Now, after a nice goodbye between Agent Ross, Archer Fordham, and John Marston, we get the train section, where you kind of endure 2 different conversations going on, and both of them are kind of central themes to Red Dead Redemption, but also now, Red Dead Redemption 2. And especially with 2 in the pocket, it's really easy just to reminisce about the things you already went through with John and the whole gang, and what's going to happen in the future. And all of that is just in this little train ride. Let's jump into it.
Well, I, for one, am grateful, Mrs. Bush, that they are finally bringing civilization to this savage land.
I could not agree with you more, my dear. My daddy settled this land, and I know he'll be looking down on us, pleased at how we help the natives.
Yes, they've lost their land, but they've gained access to heaven.
Man, those old hags are proud, huh? Whoa. Civilization to a savage land, huh? Oh my god. I mean, that's a big one for the whole of Red Dead Redemption as a series. You know, the West is dead, it's dying. A land of laws and suffering is coming, a new kind of suffering. This time it's men in suits causing it instead of cowboys on saddles. That whole thing, the whole nonsense about helping the natives, gaining access to heaven. Oh my god, right? Like, now when you play 2, you get to see that access to heaven they got at Fort Riggs, where they starved and died from disease after being assaulted and penned in like cattle. Or just the Wapiti tribe as a whole, the suffering they had to endure. Just to have land taken away from them for oil that didn't even exist there. That was like maybe there's a tiny pocket of oil, and the rest they could not find, Cornwall Currency Natal, when they take over the Wapiti Reservation after the events of 1899. That Dutchess gang definitely had a part in playing. You know, it was a whole war, essentially, that we helped enact on the American government with the Wapiti tribe. That was us. So now when you hear that line from those old crones in Red Dead Redemption 1, it has so much more meaning after playing 2. And I think, like, once again, like, you see what I mean? See how deep this rabbit hole goes? And that's just the first conversation, all right? You know, like, what about that the spelling note you find in Fort Riggs? It's not really it's a if you look at it at a first glance, it's just a random assortment of words this poor native kid is trying to learn English. But if you just take the first letter out of every word, it becomes a secret message. It's just talking about the horrible conditions they had to endure at the camp. I got it somewhere here. Hold on. There it is. Wazia, which I think is like a native spirit. Native Americans, it means it's an evil, or it means death of, I think. Anyway, Wazia comes with winter breath. His tree stands guard, whispering, all night that we sleep in our grave. Father fought and died so quick, mother dies slow. Wow, that's brutal. I mean, the kid even wrote that, like, all night we sleep in our grave. Like, oh my god, he knows they're gonna die there too, and they do. I mean, it was a slaughter. There's just graves everywhere at this fort, and they really were herded in like cattle. They were not treated right whatsoever. It's so messed up. And then it cut back to the old fucking hags, right, saying, "This is we brought them to heaven." It's brutal, and that's the context I'm talking about, right? Like, holy crap, all of that you can just go back to and really think on when you play the first game again. It's really cool. Now let's swap to the other conversation that's going on in front of John. You have the preacher and this young girl named Jenny, who I just like to point out. Another Jenny early game. Red Dead Redemption 2 has a character named Jenny that dies early on in the prologue. And in Red Dead Redemption 1, you have a character named Jenny in the beginning of the game. I think it's pretty neat. Anyway.
Father, do you mean unless an innocent receives communion, they're destined to go to hell? That hardly seems fair.
What I mean to say, Jenny, is that there is a great deal of difference between an innocent and a savage.
I never thought of it that way.
The whole no communion line just means like you're going to hell, right, immediately. And I think that's a great tie-in towards the theme of Red Dead being like, can a man truly change, right? Can he try and better himself? Is he even allowed to? If he's made too many sins in his past? Is he doomed to hell to begin with, right? Is it pointless to even try? I love that. It's great. Also lets you reflect on everything that Arthur went through, right? Like everything that he, in the end, tried to change about himself, even though he was doomed. He was a dying man. He still did his best to right everything that he felt he needed to right. And that's great. You could just really put yourself into that mindset as you hear those lines, right? And then it cuts back to the old hags again, saying it's for the best, right? Or whatever the fuck. They say something horrible. Hold on.
Yes, they lived like animals, but they're happier now.
Oh man, yeah, the animals line. That's just brutal to listen to. And I mean, I've had enough of them already. And you know what? Bonnie has had enough too. She actually gets up to change seats because she just can't listen to this anymore. I think that's amazing. Here's something interesting. On the way to the train, Archer can't help but glance at two women walking by, two just ladies of the town. Marston doesn't even give a glance. But when Bonnie walks by in the train, Marston can't help but look. And I just think that's a great little tie-in right there. Just the fact that, yeah, Marston has a thing for the toughest nails woman, right? And this time Bonnie does have a thing for him. And just like with Sadie in the first game, if Abigail wasn't there, that's definitely something that he was interested in. Even the voice actor for John said that he had a thing for Sadie if Abigail wasn't around, right? And I think the same could be said with Bonnie. I mean, that Bonnie McFarlane. All right, let's get back. This is all right, come on, back to the interesting stuff.
Not only do people now have motor cars, Father, but I heard that pretty soon we will be able to fly.
No, only angels can fly, Jenny.
No, apparently people can fly. Didn't you hear? Out in Kansas, a man even got a car to fly.
I hardly think so, Jenny.
That whole thing, Jenny and the priest are talking about flying and only angels can fly, and I just think that little piece about angels is interesting with Red Dead 2 and 1. You know, the angels can be from here on the ground. They can be us, men, woman. In terms of 2, I mean, Arthur is that for John and his family. He does everything to save John, his little brother, and to give them the life that he wishes he could have had for himself, and then John will be that same angel for his own family. He'll sacrifice himself to save the ones he loves too. And I think that's just that's not totally there, but I just think that's a nice little thing I usually reflect on that when that line is said. So there you go. Moving on, back to the old crones.
Apparently, Mr. Johns wants to run for governor, which is why he's so concerned with cleaning up the state.
Nate Johns.
Yes.
His family is nothing but hillbilly trash that came here after the war. I don't want to be judgmental, but this state should not be ruled by such a disgusting family. A family without class.
Apparently. The Johns family have made a lot of money, and he has a lot of friends in politics.
Mrs. Bush, money isn't everything. There are many things that money cannot buy.
It seems that money can buy voters, though.
We've got the governor, Nate Johns, or the aspiring to be governor. The catalyst for why John is even in that seat, as he wants to set up a precedent that he's very strongly against crime, even though by the end of his reign as governor, he is known as a corrupt, horrible piece of crap human being. What a shocker. Men seeking power through any means are also corrupt in themselves. I mean, that as itself, just Red Dead 2 loves showing that what power does and how much it corrupts. You got Cornwall, Bronte, the Braithwaites and Greys even, Fusar. I mean, all of that is central for Red Dead Redemption 2. And Dutch's reaction to what people actually turn into when they get power is something that does haunt him a bit too. But I think that's amazing that it's in here in Red Dead Redemption 1, going over the same issues. That whole, he's got money, so that means he's gonna be able to get power, and he's gonna push for horrible things because he has friends in politics, and that's great. Once again, you can reflect on 2 and just realize that even in 1, the people like Ross and Reyes, those are clear examples of how power can corrupt and is corrupting, right? Great, just more stuff to reflect on. Brilliant. Keep going. We're back to the priest.
What you must remember, my dear, is that we have been brought here to spread the word. And the word and civilization, they are the same thing. They are the gifts. It is the opportunity we have, the chance to live among people who are decent and who do not kill each other, and who let you worship in peace.
The priest goes over like the word and civilization, the gifts, the opportunity we have, right? And to live decent. Not wanting to kill each other. The American dream, basically, right? Also faith, of course. But really, I mean, that's everything John wants to keep doing, right? Do right by Arthur's sacrifice and his family, his second chance, just doing the right thing, trying to be a better man and trying to be a good family man, right? That's the whole thing that John is desperately trying to hold on to. You know, Ross is the one that kind of pulls him out of that because Nate Johns is breathing down the government's neck, the agent's neck, that he wants to show he's anti-corruption. So taking out one of the oldest wanted gangs out in these parts is a great way to gain some PR, right? It's just a PR stunt, this whole thing too, that's wonderful, right? That's what you're stuck inside of. And that leads to one of my favorite moments in the intro on this train is what Jenny says after.
It's so confusing, Father. Sometimes I find it impossible to make the distinction between a loving act and a hateful one. I mean, they often seem to be the same thing.
Yes, Jenny, it is confusing. But you only have to ask me if you need help.
Indeed.
God, I love that line. I love what 2 did with that. You know? 2 ran with that statement, basically, in some of the events that go on during the story. Or even 1, right? Jack avenging John. You know, is that out of love or hate? It's probably both, right? American Venom, you're avenging Arthur. That's a hateful act, but also a loving one in the fact it's you're avenging someone you love. It's Arthur, right? The Saint Denis robbery, you know, that big one. You could say it was bloodbath, and how could you do that? But in reality, the main goal of the gang for that money is just to reset their life, basically give themselves a second chance to live somewhere in peace as farmers, right, on that big ranch. I mean, you probably haven't heard this full line because sometimes in a lot of the missions, if you're walking too fast, if you try to pair up your speed with the NPC you're with, they will end up walking faster just to keep, because they always have to be ahead of you, right? So when you meet up with Charles in the epilogue in Saint Denis, he kind of goes into detail of what the dream was, what they all believed in, Charles included, right? And most people won't hear the full thing because you have to almost like slow down and like like tiptoe walk to make sure you hear the whole dialogue, but here you go.
You know, he was the one speaking to them agents.
What?
Putting them on us the whole time. Or since before I got off Sisika.
They picked up Strauss. The agents. Made a real mess of him. I heard he died in custody. Never said a word.
Guess some folk is strong in ways you can't see.
Everything that happened. All those deaths. Micah?
None of us is innocent in that. Dutch, least of all. But I don't think we would have had to make those calls. All that mayhem. If it wasn't for...
We were on a very bad path.
And Micah Bell dragged us into the abyss.
Let's stick together, okay?
So, what were you saying?
It never ends well. Gangs like ours don't ride off into the sunset. Not these days.
Maybe Arthur's sunset's the best we can hope for.
I actually believed it, you know? Once. The original plan. That we'd have a ranch one day. Horses, cattle, big noisy dinners. All of us living free and honest.
Funny you should say that. That's what I'm hoping for this place in the high country. Only, it's just me and Uncle at the moment. And maybe Abigail and Jack if they'll take me back. And the ranch is... well, wait till you see the ranch. I'll let you decide what you think. I think it's mighty fine. Or has the potential to be.
You're a lucky man, John. I always thought you might be.
I hope you'll stay with us.
Sir? I will. For a while.
Okay. Where's your bag?
Over there. It's where I left it.
You know, that was their dream, that farm. You know, that's what John is trying to fully realize with Beecher's Hope. And all of that you get to reflect upon, right? When Jenny says that, and I think that's great. Outside of gazing at Bonnie, though, this train ride has been brutal. I don't want to listen to these people anymore. Thank God we're at Armadillo. Ah, Armadillo. It's good to be back. Oh, hold on. There we go. Okay, let's go meet our guide.
Marston! Mr. Marston, over here! You must be John Marston.
Sometimes.
I'm Jake. Your friends from Blackwater hired me to guide you.
They ain't my friends. I'm pleased to meet you, Jake.
I got the horses saddled up and ready out front.
You hear that line after we met Jake? You John Marston? Sometimes. Oh, that's so cool, right? Like that. There you go. There's another little reference. I mean, Red Dead 2 has some real fun with it, right? Rip Van Winkle. I mean, the endless being confused at what his name is, Jim Milton, right? Who even am I? I love that. Red Dead 1 makes a couple jokes like that. You know, one stranger mission, you get called James Mansion, you get called Scarface. You get, I mean, 2 does the Wolf Brains line from Arthur. He just keeps calling you Wolf Brains. I mean, all that's great. You know, I just love that in this intro in 2010, they already knew that that was the thing they were going to go for. Like, are you John Marston? He answers sometimes. Oh, I mean, the added context of 2 just gives it so much more life to that line, right? It's awesome. I think even small stuff can be really poked into and looked at like, wow, is that a reference too? Because Red Dead Redemption 2 has a thing with birds, right? I mean, when you're building the house at Beecher's Hope, there's a blue jay. When you destroy the giant warship on Guarma, 2 birds fly down and stare at you after you've done blowing up the boat. To me, that's Lenny and Hosea right there, right? So imagine my surprise when you're approaching Fort Mercer. There's a bunch of crows waiting for you as you're going up there. And now in my head, it's like, oh my God, is that those crows stand for like gang members from the past, right? Like it's 4, right? You got Hosea, Arthur, Lenny, and Sean on that little post as crows, right? Or I mean, for the original, before those characters existed, you could do John, Bill, Javier, and Dutch. Those are the 4 birds. I mean, or 4 as in it's just a standoff between 3 people up there and John on the bottom. All of that, you know, is just, there's 4 crows there. That's what you could say in your head and just be that's the end of it. But now with the context of 2, with all those bird stuff, now I kind of want to lean towards that with the context of 2, that those crows up there, it's Hosea, Arthur, Lenny, and Sean. I think that's pretty awesome.
Bill! Bill, I've come for you! Bill Williamson! Come out here right now!
Go away now, John. Don't make me kill you.
Nobody needs to kill anyone, Bill.
You must think I was born yesterday. You always did think I was an idiot.
That ain't fair, Bill. You were as my brother. I've come to try to save you.
Oh. Do I look like I need saving?
Bill, please. They want to kill us all. I can help you.
Well, you never tried to save me before. You only seemed to save yourself.
Bill, I implore you think about this.
You implore me? You implore me. You always were one for fancy words. Oh. Well, things are different now, John. Now I'm in charge! No more Dutch! And no more you. Implored. I implores you to go back and tell them to send someone just a little bit more impressive next time.
Well?
Oh. Poor John.
Now we cut to just meeting Bill, right? Like, you were as my brother. We were friends once, he says to the guide, Jake, right? And it cuts back to, like, Sean's party.
You in this for the long haul?
Always to the bitter end, me, Morgan.
I thought as much.
It was eaten by hippopotamuses, rhinoceroses. Taken to a village in the trees.
Wasn't much of a party for your return, Marston.
So let's celebrate now.
Ha! Already stealing Sean's moment.
You know, the funny thing is, John, no, hey, the funny thing is, funny thing is, I forgot what I was gonna say.
You're right. That is funny.
So, you say something. Say something, go on.
Say what?
I don't know. Just go say anything.
Bill, you're pretty drunk. And you're a funny fella. But you're okay.
You're not. Everyone thinks that you're Dutch's pet.
His pet?
Yep. like a dog or a cat. You're his favorite.
Favorite? People care about that?
Sure. I mean, some do. Few people.
Who?
I don't know. Well, me. Or not me. Maybe me. Shit, I don't know. I mean, like, hey, it's like, okay. I love liquor. I love liquor. But liquor don't love me.
I know what you mean.
Pathetic. Genuinely pathetic.
Come here, my sweet. Oh,
And they're all celebrating together. They are family. Like, they were close once, and now with one, I mean, you really see how far Bill has fallen, first of all. But with this conversation, Rockstar really played into, once again, like, how much can we use this intro for the story of 2? And you could see it with what John says to Bill here, where he mentions they've come to kill us all. And now you're like, what if you just play 1? You're like, why even does the army want to murder and the government want to go after John and the gang? Well, now after 2, you kind of learn that they may have fought a little war with the American government and robbed them and killed a bunch of federal agents. You know, small things. Like, they're renowned, that their stories, their fights with the government, like, those are folklore now. Those are legends people tell. Like the story of Dutch's gang is now, like, up there with the Wild of West heroes. Like, they're up there with that. And so with that knowledge, you know, it makes more sense now that the government's after John and the gang, like the rest of them. And then the bigger moment for me was when John says, Bill, I implore you to think about this, which is, oh, baby. 2 ran with that. I mean, the Rainsfall speech, you know, I mean, when you see the cutscene of Rainsfall approaching, when Inglefly says we're going to attack Cornwall, Kerosene and Tar or whatever, I mean, it zooms in on Charles, Arthur, and John. Like, those are the people that Rainsfall, like, is heavily affecting with his speech. You don't see Bill there. Bill's fucking somewhere else doing something dumb. Like, Bill's not even involved, right? Moron. And basically, it's in that small moment for Charles and John, you get to see what a great leader really is in action. You know, he's striving for peace, to endure through the suffering, not just to seek vengeance because of it, right? To seek peace and love in this world rather than just chaos and pain. Things that Dutch does not want to do. I mean, the monster Bill's become, like, you can't really walk away from that for Bill or Dutch, but John did. Arthur tried to. I mean, Bill's really gone bad. And you could see that in his reaction to even he just laughs it off. And the crimes that Bill does, like at Ridgewood, like the stuff that Bill's doing is horrifying. You know, you could see really just how far he's gone bad. And with the context of 2, you know, he really wasn't a bad guy for a long time. You know, you could have easily guided him back to being a good person. It's just the cards didn't fall down that way. Now, like, a bonus thing I thought was really interesting is in the trailer, My Name is John Marston, we get a little bits and pieces of maybe what more the cutscene had at that meetup, you know, because Bill says a line in the trailer that does not happen in the base game, where he says, Dutch always says you was an arrogant son of a bitch, but the bitch it's a gunshot, right?
Bill Williamson was in that game.
Dutch always said you were an arrogant son of a bitch.
And that line, you just think it's the trailer, right? Whatever. All right, it's in the trailer. Doesn't matter. But then there's a camp interaction in Red Dead Redemption 2 where Dutch goes, well, let's listen to it first.
I ain't tough. I'm either stupid or slow. I cannot decide which. Either way, I keep getting caught.
We all get caught eventually, John. I guess the trick is to decide by who.
What do you mean?
Seems like you've been getting caught by a few things. Not just wolves and knives.
Ain't nothing ever caught me Dutch didn't want to eat me.
Well, exactly. I think that's the point.
Listen, I didn't get these scars falling over in church.
Not yet, you didn't.
Just what do you mean, Dutch?
Jack! Jack! Come to bed. Come on to bed now.
I guess I should be going to bed. Don't you be an arrogant son of a bitch, John. You're better than that. Love gets us all in the end. You be grateful it got you.
The man talks drivel sometimes.
I guess. I wish I had a scar.
Ah, you see that? See, Dutch says, oh, don't be such an arrogant son of a bitch, John. And Bill's in that conversation, right? Talking about scars or something stupid. Genius. And no, it doesn't, it's not necessarily part of the prologue in the game, but if you're watching this trailer before you bought the game, like that kind of counts as like an introduction to the series. They even added context there. It's brilliant. You know, you go back to watch the trailer of My Name is John Marston, you see that line, and your head goes crazy because it's like, oh my god, that was totally a line in 2. Like that's the life I'm talking about. I like the mythos they're at. Like that's the line they're fucking going. Like it's incredible just the length they're going at to reference these things. The Rockstar Ryan team, like that. I just love that moment. I definitely had like a mind blown moment when I watched the trailer again. I was like, oh my god, this was a thing in 2 as well. Wow. Anyway, back to the actual prologue.
Well.
Oh. Poor John.
Bam. You know, finally we get the aftermath. Now, it ain't wolves, but they were cornered like animals, and they shot you down. Now, once again, just like 2, you are dying, wounded on the ground, until 2 people risk their own necks to save your moronic self. That's, once again, it's amazing there, right? Just another parallel, another context that has you thinking like, wow, they made sure to pair this up in 2. And now both games have you, John, bedridden, half dead, but still breathing, with a whole adventure still ahead of you, right? As you lie low temporarily. It's amazing. I mean, it's the pairing there is so good. I mean, in fact, even the ladies checking up on you are paired nicely, right? Abigail finally comes to see you and she says, I guess I was expecting to see a corpse. Bonnie checks up on you.
Well, you're alive.
Well, you're alive. I mean, they're both half expecting to see a dead guy here. And frankly, I mean, both of them are tough as nails and head over heels for you, 100%. Even though, of course, John would never admit it, just like Sadie, he has eyes for Miss McFarlane as well. Of course he would. And who could blame him? There can easily be another hour more I can do on this, but this is the prologue. I believe it ends right around here. Shortly after this, you are given the freedom of free roam, so I'd say that's it for a prologue, right? That's more into just chapter 1. Now do you see why I think it's incredible just how much Rockstar acted and expanded upon these themes covered here with Red Dead Redemption 2? Just with this intro, it's really brilliant with how much they went at it. I mean, we don't get many direct sequels from Rockstar. It's what makes Red Dead 2 so special, right? Red Dead Revolver to Redemption, that was more of a reimagining, right? You kind of use the same characters, but retool them, reuse them, redesign them slightly. I mean, look at John and Bonnie, right? I mean, they're like Annie and Red from Red Dead Revolver. So I think it is really special that what we got for Red Dead Redemption 2, like they really went all out to just build the world they already had made for Red Dead Redemption 1, and it makes it somehow even better. Somehow Red Dead Redemption now is even better than it already is after you've played Red Dead Redemption 2, so I couldn't recommend it more. Do yourself a favor if you've never played the first game, play it. It's a wonderful experience. And that's going to be it for this video. That was a fun one. Got plenty of stuff cooking just about video games. Tons and tons of games. I hope you'll stick around to watch them. Thank you so much for over 100 subscribers. It's an honor, and I just can't thank you enough for every single view. I'll catch y'all later. Bye.